the final main parts for the MX5's 2.5 litre turbo engine has arrived, and that is a lightweight flywheel and clutch that can handle the power. My original plan was to go for like a 7.25 inch race clutch and a super light flywheel like that, and then I realised the cost was going to be like something like 1,400 quid all in, which is ridiculous. Whereas this lot, this flywheel here is 5.6 kilos, so literally 2 kilos heavier than the race one, and the clutch itself, you know, the weight isn't much different, but this was literally half of that. This was about 700 quid. There's no way I could justify saving 3 kilos for 700 quid, do you know what I mean? So this is what it is. You got a billet flywheel, 6-putt clutch, obviously the release bearing, new bolts, and so on. This plus the lighter crank pulley will take over 10 kilos off the weight of the crank while the rotating weight of the engine, versus the standard clutch and pulley and whatever, because the standard flywheel is mega heavy, like ridiculously heavy. And as I shown in the last video, the lightweight front pulley I've got is about 2 kilos lighter on its own. So yeah, this is, I mean, this might be saving a lot more. I can't find, because I chucked my last standard flywheel away, I can't find the exact weights. If I can find another, I'm going to weigh it again. But this will save upwards of 10. This is like 5.6 kilos and 0.8 for the lightweight pulley. So that is, well, say 6.5 kilos. Even the standard flywheel is something around 14.5. And then it's 3 kilos for the front pulley, so yeah, over 10. And obviously the clutch weighs about the same, so no big deal. So yeah, now that's done, all that's really left to do is get the block onto an engine stand and get cracking, really. If you've been watching my previous videos, you'll probably recognise these engines as the two Volvo Redblock boat engines, the 2.5 litres. One was a 16 valve, one was an 8 valve, which I bought to go in the Volvo powered MX5 with a turbo on them, of course. Well, there's a lot of talk all over the internet, and I still can't find a straight answer about these blocks. People think the 16 valve boat engine blocks are better. A lot of people think every boat engine is better. They call them Supermarine blocks and say they're stronger. And there's talk of these R blocks, which are like Volvo racing ones and all kinds of weird crap. But nobody seems to know the truth. So I didn't take any real notice, because the fact is all B230 blocks are really strong. You know, it's not a problem like that. So I didn't pay any real attention to these blocks. And then the other day somebody mentioned to me, well, they messaged me, just a random person, asking about wanting to buy a 16 valve boat block, because he was told they're like super strong and able to be bored out more than the others. And I said to him, well, as far as I can see, both blocks look the same. And then I thought, hang on, I hadn't really had a close look. So I had a close look, and it turns out they're really very different to each other. Like, so this video is going to be all about the differences, and they are really different. This one, it's got B230 and then an R. And there are some legendary, should we say, mythical almost, Volvo R blocks, which are like the ones used in racing. And I don't think this is one of them, but one thing's for sure, it's really, really different to that normal one. So yeah, it's what we're going to do. So we're going to do lots of things. I will show you all the differences. I'll get the calipers out and show you the difference in size and everything. Another thing we're going to do is check it on the scales, and we will weigh these too, because even though they're identical now in parts, they are stripped down to exactly the same components, so should weigh the same. I got a funny feeling this one is going to be at least a few kilos heavier than that one, but we will see. On the side, you just do it like that?
Yeah, just do it like that, because obviously... Yeah?
Yeah?
Probably like that, we can figure it out.
You ready?
Ready? Stay?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Oh, bloody hell, that was lucky. 80 kilos.
Exactly.
Exactly 80 kilos, and that's...
I would not make that up.
on the dot, and that's a complete engine.
That's no shit in here. This is not a trick.
Full internals. 80 dead on. That's a bare engine, well, a bare bottom end, but everything on there. Only thing removed is water pump. So now, let's try this one, and I reckon this one, which the reasons I'll explain why later, is going to be a few kilos heavier.
No, hold on.
What?
Hold on, you're not telling the truth.
What?
You're cheating.
Oh, go on.
So wash it for long.
Oh no. Oh,
Yeah,
still 80.
still 80.
Yeah, still 80.
Oh, you're not cheating anymore, no?
Lighter than I thought, to be honest.
Yeah, I was expecting.
They don't weigh fuck all, really. And people always say, I tell you what, out of a bit of fun.
Let's put the head on. Yeah, well,
And all these pullers.
so simulating the cam and everything. So
Yeah.
roughly.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got everything. Like 6.
6.
I've got a cameo.
Well, you got the valves on, right?
Yeah, valves, right?
Sweet.
Valve. Water pump.
They put it on the side of the block there, let's see it.
Water pump. Pulley. Tank pulley. That's pretty much complete engine. Oh, this is obviously minus flywheel, of course. I could
Yeah,
have
but it
a-
doesn't matter, the flywheel is, you just setting down, you can make
Yeah, so that is a complete engine, full bottom end, 2.5 litre as well, crank pulley, water pump, cam, head, cam pullers, rocker cover, the lot,
106.
106 kilos. So yeah, these engines are not heavy. People say they are. No, they're not.
I'm surprised. I was expecting more than that.
Yeah, well, as soon as I lifted it up, it's like, hang on, this ain't heavy.
Yeah.
It's like, this is really light. I could, yeah, I was getting ready to strain, and I was like, hang on, I could lift this one bloody self. Yeah.
That's good.
100 and, yeah, fuck all.
How much
Absolutely.
is the gearbox with?
Very light. The M90 box is super light. Weighs nothing. I've got.
Four-wheel drive boxes.
I wouldn't have thought they.
Probably the same.
Average is like everything. I would have thought.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
That's not gonna be what, 50 kilograms?
If that, probably. You know, I like boxes normally are.
So would that be 150, 160 kilograms?
Roughly.
Lighter than that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, that's complete with the flywheel, not with back. That's
Yeah.
what you say, 50, 60.
Yeah, and I mean, you can have a 5.5 kilo flywheel. Like I said, I've got a 5.5 kilo flywheel to go on. You could add to that if you wanted to. I've got my crank pulley, instead of that one, is 0.8 kilos. I mean, obviously a 16 valve head weighs a little bit more. Not much, I bet, but...
Yeah, what I'm saying, you add 100 kilograms now, you're not adding another 100 kilograms with the gearbox.
Fuck no, you're not, no.
And that, as
Yeah.
you see it now, with a very light panel, weighs 200 kilograms.
Yeah, 200 kilos. So a Volvo Redblock is certainly significantly lighter than a K24 Honda engine. And after lifting that up, I'm not surprised. That weighed fuck all. So yeah, good times. Should we see if this one's a bit heavier?
Yeah.
Let's take all this shit back off.
Yeah, but how much?
Ready? There you go. That one, which is the one that looks beefier, which we'll explain later in this video, 2.2 kilos heavier. And honestly, the only difference is the block.
Almost 2.5 kilograms of meat.
Yeah, that is 2.5 kilos extra metal. And it's the same shape. You know, this is all identical, no extra parts.
That's not right. You're doing this again.
Oh, the washer, sorry.
Yes, yes. Do it properly.
Yeah.
82.1.
But yeah, literally to the extent that I even made sure the same oil filter screw was in both. But this one is a couple of kilos more. 2.1, 2.2 kilos more. And that is purely extra meat on the block. And now, I guess I better show you all the many differences. And 2.2 kilos of cast iron is quite a lump of cast iron.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to wonder what we got cast. But yeah, that's a fair bit. I think.
Let's have a look. Let's just take this off.
Yeah.
2.8.
2.8. There you go.
So almost
Yeah.
like something like that. If you remove the rubber.
So yeah, that's 2.8 kilos of cast iron, and this is big and beefy. Look at that. And that's 2.8. That is 2.2 kilos heavier than that, despite being the same shape. So somewhere on this block is that much extra cast iron. Almost that much extra, probably that much minus the rubber, or that much minus maybe if we shave that one bit off. At least that much cast iron. So where is it? Well, we've spotted quite a lot of it, but that's actually more than I actually thought. So I bet there's some more we haven't seen yet. But yeah, people think these B230 blocks are all the same. Fuck no, they're not. This block here is nowhere near this B230. Well, I'll show you. B230R. I don't believe this is one of those R blocks as in the racing ones, but one thing's for sure, if you had to guess, well, if you had to have one to hold massive power, you would go for this block over that one by a long way, which I will show you in the rest of this video. Here's another interesting one. That's a complete 16 valve head, including cams, valves, pulleys, a lot on the scales, and it weighs 29.8 kilos, almost 30 kilos. So let's have a look what this complete 8 valve, including pulleys, weighs again. So 1 less cam and 8 less valves and all the other crap, of course, but yeah, a 16 valve head weighs 10 kilos more than the 8 valve head. So there you go, and now you know. Right, you've seen me weigh them. Now it's time to show you where we can see all the differences in weight. After a bit, I will put at least the one, if not them both, up on engine stands. But for now, while they're already on the floor, I may as well show you the obvious differences that we can see already. And it's fairly significant. First, I'll start with explaining what's what. That is a late spec, I think it's AQ171C 16 valve Penta engine. That is a late spec, it's called a 250A AQ151 8 valve engine. Both 2.5 litre, both identical bottom ends, same rods, the same pistons, the same con rods, the lot basically. The one difference immediately noticeable is this is a block with oil squirters. This one is not. I don't think this is got the meat for the oil squirters, but I don't think it's been drilled for them, but I don't know about taking it apart. As you can see, this just says B230. This says B230R, which is what got me wondering, because there's always a lot of talk about R blocks, but the R blocks most people talk about, I don't think this is one of them. They are different again, but that's a story for later on in this, because as we've already shown, there's a couple of kilos extra metal in this somewhere, and the question is where. So let's have a look. First thing to notice is even this alloy bit around the back of the crank, around the rear main seal, this one is beefier than this one. This one is hollow there, and that one is not. Why they would do that, don't know, but they have. Next thing to notice is here, for example, this lighter block has got that circle there and that bit there. This one solid bit all the way across. Here on the stiffer block, the dip down from the bell housing line to that ridge is next to nothing. This one, much more significant. There's probably a lot more too. That, for example, is, oh, that is as well, you can see. I'm not going to bother measuring it because we've already gone through loads of different things on this, but I'm fairly sure now looking at it, this area on this one has got a lot less meat than this one has. Looking at the sides of the block is where you really notice the difference. On the face of it, it's the same, but in reality, while all the bolt holes and everything's the same, all the fitment's the same, things are very different in the strengthening parts of it. Obviously this part here, which is the main oil gallery, this has got lumps coming off it for the oil squirters, and that hasn't, but whatever, no big deal. All the bolt holes are the same. The difference is everywhere else, the strengthening ribs and so on. You can probably see, even if you look straight away, there to there, there to there, on this bigger, heavier block, the strengthening areas, well, the dips between them are far shallower on the heavier block than that block. Pretty much everything, you know, even at the bottom of the block here, it is thicker than this, and I will do a couple of measurements to show you. I mean, look at the thickness around the core plugs. Thin, super thick. We're talking, it's about 8.5 mil. And that is 5 mil. Even if you went flat to flat, I think it'd be significantly different. $8 mil on the widest part. $12.5 mil. So yeah, 4 or 5 mil difference even around the core plugs. Let's check the depth here. Obviously these are in identical places to those because it's for ancillaries to bolt on. So it's just how deep, you know, how much metal there is or isn't. So on this beefier block, (13.25 millimeters). So let's just call it 13 mil. On this one, 18 and a little bit. So like literally 5 mil deeper there than that. Let's have a look at this bit. So that is 9 mil deep there. This at its deepest point is 6 mil. So call it 7, 6.5, 7. Let's do this bit again. Flat of the bolt hole, that is 18.5, nearly 19 mil. This one, same place, that is 14 mil. Even here on this one, you got, this is just flat, no dip, no nothing, and that is relatively shallow. On this one, this dips right down there, and that is far deeper. Out of interest, let's do the old measuring again to the deepest point. That is 23.5 mil. Deepest point on this one, again same, top of the block, 16.5. Call it 17 if you want, but it's a lot. Again, we'll do this bit. We call that 23. 19. It's everywhere, everywhere. Even the bottom of the block, literally in the crank area, because obviously that's the crankcase from there. The cylinders are realistically there. Sort of cylinders, you know, top half. If it's a two-piece block, like a motorbike, some motorbike engines and so on, this would literally be the crankcase. And even this is far stiffer, much more meat to it than this one. We'll go with a few different places again. Again, you'll see, like, you know, where the sump line is the same no matter what. They're the same sump basically. So let's just measure off that. We'll try and measure off the edge of the, well, we measure off these bolt holes, then it's a safe bet. So the bottom line of this bolt hole to there is 23.5. Bottom bolt hole to the lowest point again, 20.5. We'll try this one again to its deepest point. Yeah, about 23. 20. This bit to the, that is 17. 14. So yeah, 3 mil plus pretty much all along this bottom bit to stiffen up the crankcase. I was just wondering if there's other places to measure. You know what, let's try off this. $17 on the thicker block. $19 on this block. I mean, you can see the difference just even in where the dip is there compared to that. This is way shallower. Yeah, actually I just realized even this bottom, even the bottom of the block where it bolts to the sump here is 13 mil. That is 16.5, 17 mil. And that is partially, that is further down, and partially this doesn't stick out as far. You can see it from the sump. On this one, the sump is almost, I mean, they're identical sumps, absolutely identical sumps, but you can see the sump is almost in line with the block, almost. On these, the sump sticks out a fair bit further than the block. So yeah, I mean, there's countless differences. One weird thing, bear in mind this is a lighter block. This big lump here isn't on this. So, and this one is still a few kilos lighter than this one. So, you can see how much metal has been added to this one, when even with that chunk missing, this is loads heavier. The other side is much the same as this. You know, thicker core plugs, shallower bits, thicker webbing, thicker block, everything on the other side. Nothing, I'll show that in a minute, but I think maybe now we're doing an interesting thing and get the sump off and see if there's any differences in the around the main bearings or anything like that. Right then, let's have a nosy. On the face of it, the internal components should be identical, but we will see, won't we? Well, at first glance at least, internally these engines look identical. I mean, they are both, I don't know if you can see there, look. See that? That's the Bofors logo, as in the Swedish armaments company, the famous Bofors cannons, like anti-aircraft guns from World War II, and even today they make ammunition and armaments and stuff all around the world. But yeah, they made the crankshaft for these, hence the B on both. That one's less clear, but it's the same. But yeah, they look, to me at least, the same. Internally, the block. I'll get Thomas to have a nosy in a minute, see if he spots anything I don't. But generally, they're the same. I knew the internal, you know, the crank, the rods and so on were the same. Well, they should have been. As far as I can see, they are. But I didn't know if we'd see any difference in the block. But no, I don't think so. I mean, you've seen the externals, there's loads. But internally, looks like they kept it the same. All the extra meat is on the outside of the block. But as you've seen, it's a pretty bloody significant amount. A few kilos worth. Why they did that to this block, couldn't tell you. In all honesty, I don't know why, but they did. But this one has got a whole lot more meat on the outside than this one. Whether there's any other differences, I can't tell. In, you know, better metallurgy for this one, or differences between the cylinders and the waterways, it's not something I can see. But the outside was clear. It was very different. And under here, no, not as far as I can tell. They're both just awesome. The front and rear alloy covers have got totally different numbers on them. But although the rear one is beefier on the beefier block, the front one looks identical, but it's clearly not. Why they got different numbers, I wouldn't know. That even the way the numbers are printed are different. But yeah, not all Volvo Redblocks are built the same, that's for sure. One other thing I've noticed on these, but it's not a difference because they're both the same, is the oil pumps. I checked the part number, and this 3340 pump on these Penta engines is basically the best one, the highest volume oil pump. So, well, good news, because engines enjoy oil, and without them, things break. So yeah, the fact it's got the decent oil pump is a massive winner as well. So, happy days. That's first crank bearing, and the answer is they look fucking brand new. I kind of thought they would, because this engine, both these engines seem very, very fresh. But yeah, literally, you wouldn't know that bearing, and certainly wouldn't know that crank wasn't literally brand new. So that's great news. So I guess I better carry on. Rods and pistons all out, and honestly, every bearing, everything looks fresh and new. Good times. So, to be honest, it's mostly time to clean up the pistons a bit and change the rods, put it all back together. Pistons and rods out, cleaned up. Literally, they're good as new really, so they could just go straight back in. One weirdly interesting thing about them is, which one shall I show you? This one I do. Obviously, Marley, that's who makes them. See that V there? That signifies they are these weird as hell Marley things, and I've never seen this before. You know, shows you learn something new every day with pistons. These type of Marley pistons I've got, well, you can probably see there, that there, and that there, and there's two more there and there. That is strips of steel cast in to the piston to make them stronger. I've never seen that before. It's like a Marley thing. They've got a, I can't even remember the bloody name of it now. I'll maybe put it on screen now. I've already forgot the name of it. It's like a brand name they call it, but it is pistons that they make super heavy duty by adding steel strips to it. And that's what the V signifies on a Marley piston. There's a different letter for cast and forged and blah blah blah, and V means that. And I forget the name, but I will tell you now. And yeah, interesting, weird, crazy, but there you go. I didn't bother filming this bit because, well, who cares? But 4 rods, 4 H section rods onto the 4 standard Volvo 2.5 litre 96mm, I think they are, pistons. There's the original rods, which, yeah, they're pretty beefy, but they, you know, they're known to break under big power. I mean, in you know, in Scandinavia and stuff, I've seen them go best part of 500 brake on standard rods, but that's kind of about, they deliberately don't make a lot of low down torque. Whereas what I'm doing with this engine, especially being a 2.5 litre, is very much low down torque, so they had to go. And in this place is these lovelies. To be honest, it's not too difficult. And these rods, like I mentioned before, in like a 2 litre like my 940, I'm pretty confident these will go well over 5, no problem. I mean, they're pretty hefty rods, but yeah, they just can't take ridiculous torque, as you can imagine, because torque is what kills things like rods. But yeah, these should do the job. I've numbered them up just in case I forget. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, they're ready to go back onto the crank now. Pistons and new rods are all in. Pretty simple. Getting them back in, you know, dead easy really. You just get a piston ring compressor and then gently tap them in. That's, you know, piece of piss. But it's finally hit me with the paranoia now. Now it's all back together. It's like, oh, were they, you know, was it all clean enough? Were the piston rings, you know, the right fucking orientation? Was the bloody circlips that hold the gudgeon pins in properly and blah blah blah? And yeah, they probably are, almost certainly are. But yeah, now it's all back together. The paranoia has hit. So yeah, if anything fails after about 10 minutes, then yeah, my bad. But I think I've done I think I've done it right. I fucking hope so. It's quite easy, but it's also quite easy to get wrong if you weren't paying attention. And I'm good at not paying attention. So, but no, I'm pretty sure everything's okay. I'm just being a bit paranoid now. But yeah, that's all done. Yeah, we're getting there. What colour shall I do the block? I know it's a red block, so I should do it red. Well, that's me done for this video. I've stopped, not because I've reached a point where mechanically or whatever I can't go on. And it's not even like I just had enough and want to go home. This time I'm stopping for a reason that don't sound anything like me, but unfortunately for this, I gotta stop. And that's because I don't know what colour to paint this fucking engine. I know it's a red block, so it should be red, but I don't like red. I don't like the car being red, and it's probably not going to stay red. And as much as I love Volvo Redblocks, the colour red I don't like. It's just shit. I've got an idea of what colour I do want it. I mean, I'd be perfectly fine if it's just fucking black. I just don't like the colour red. As much as I don't want to jinx it by, you know, painting a red block any other colour but red, I really don't want to. But until I've made my mind up for sure, I can't really go any further because, well, realistically, the next thing to do is paint some shit, because if once I bolt stuff back on, can't paint it. So, but everything's done. New rods are in, everything's checked over, it's all good. I torqued up and undid and torqued up the rod bolts about fucking 4 times each just to be sure. Feels like it spins perfectly fine to me. No dodgy noises. So yeah, I think at least the bottom end is all good. I'm really impressed with the parts that's in the bottom end because it's better than I thought. It's a higher flow oil pump than the normal Volvo models. These Penta pumps, it turns out, I looked at the part number, it's like a high flow pump, it's like an upgrade. As I've shown, the block is strong as fuck. One of the strongest ones, you know, over 2 kilos heavier. Both built forged crank, obviously H section rods now, and Marley bloody steel reinforced pistons. So yeah, I'm happy with the quality. Now I just got to do the quite lame thing of working out what colour I want to paint the fucking thing. Yeah, so that's it, but hope you enjoyed this video. It's been pretty informative to even me, because I didn't know half of this stuff, and I bet you didn't either, and you sure as fuck do now. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, share, subscribe, just, you know, get it out there if you can, and I'll see you next time.